Yeah, I just think it's really interesting because statistics is one of those things, like, it's math, right? Like, statistics in a lot of ways is math, statistical analysis. I love math. Math is like my favorite school subject, always has been. And statistics is a math subject. But it rides this interesting line between, like, objective mathematics and, like, subjectivity. And you have to be very careful with statistics. You have to look at it with a critical eye. I just think that's really interesting about it because it can be highly subjective. And math is not highly subjective. That's the beauty of math, is that it's an objective field in a lot of ways.
I think statistics is a highly unique mathematical tool that, like any tool, can be used correctly or incorrectly. The asterisk with statistics is that other mathematical tools, it's substantially evident when it's incorrectly applied or used.
Sure.
Statistics, you can incorrectly use it, and it's not necessarily self-evident. And even at times, the correct answer, like with the survivorship bias, even when correctly used, it may seem counterintuitive.
Right. I just think that's
It's a very weird math tool.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, I just think it's really interesting. Like, it's a very powerful tool, but it's almost like a dangerous tool that you kind of have to watch out for a little bit, because you can be misled by it really easily. You can be led to wrong conclusions. And I think it can also, like, it can be kind of a gateway into, like, weird half-truth areas where maybe you have some level of truth in what you're saying, but you're presenting it in a maybe very biased or polarizing way that can sow confusion in people, or sometimes I think give people maybe a sense of unfounded confidence in, like, unproven conclusions. And because the stats show, right? And people look at statistics sometimes, stats that come out as, like, the holy grail, or like it's written on a stone tablet. Like, well, the stats show this. They don't understand that there's a lot of subjectivity in how you present and gather statistics. And it's not necessarily just black and white. Oh, the stats show. Like, there's a lot that goes into it. And you need to look at that carefully. Like, sometimes in, political discourse these days, people can go back and forth just shouting their own statistics at each other, fully convinced in the objective truth of their side because of the statistics that they have, right? And the conversation goes nowhere. It just goes nowhere as a result.
Yeah.
Because both sides just, like I said before, you could find a statistic that shows or quote-unquote proves just about anything you want.
Yeah.
So you can have a level of confirmation bias.
Yeah.
Even in how you're conducting a statistical study, there can be a lot of confirmation bias. And so you can gather a stat that shows or says anything. And so people do that, and they have this false idea that statistics is objective all the time. So they find a stat, and they throw it out there, say, well, this is an objective truth now. That's not necessarily the case, and you have to be careful with it. Like, well, it's a dangerous tool.
And I think we've been referring to statistics as a tool, and I think that that's the proper way of approaching it. A tool is not helpful in and of itself. A tool is only helpful insofar as you need it to perform a particular action. Okay? Right. So if I just throw some statistic out there, like, oh, the divorce rate's 42%, it's like, that doesn't help, because what oftentimes happens is you create problems for the tool to resolve in your head immediately. And what that can result in is incorrect application of said statistic. So now you start thinking, oh, about my friend who just got married. That's an incomplete statistic for your friend who just got married. If we want to look at society as a whole and understand the economical impact of divorce on a society, and we're going to look at economic trends and try and correlate that to divorce rate, now that statistic is helpful, right? But if I just throw the statistic out there without us both agreeing on where we're wishing to apply this tool, you conjure up all of these problems for that tool to solve. And they're not necessarily the right thing for it, right? It's like trying to use a hammer on a screw. Like, this is not helpful now.